Tony Dunn. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
C3 Panther Nation, what is up? Carolina Panthers football is upon us. Preseason football is a little under 2 weeks away. Training camp is fast approaching. We're going to have a live C3 podcast at Resident Culture here in South End, Charlotte on July 27th to do a live podcast. Come through, see the boys. Tony Dunn is currently en route to Charlotte, so I have got the reins over the show tonight, and we have a great one in store for you like we always do. Is Dan Morgan already trying to temper expectations? No pun intended. How is Bryce Young still being called a fifth grader on Twitter? He'll probably be called a fifth grader to the end of his career. We also have Dave Newton continuing to ask spicy questions, updates on what the training camp actually looks like here in Charlotte, and we'll break down some early mock-ups for this 53-man roster. Boys, you know I love to do this with the best damn Panther fans in all of YouTube. Y'all already know them and love them. We got Bo the Lorax in the building, Hemlock, John B. Jenkins, John Dyson, KG73s, Leo Factor, what's up? My man D off the porch. He might be stopping in a little bit later to give some words. And Tim Estes. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, boys. Let's roll. Let me introduce my crew. You know him. You love him. He's got the best beard in all of Panther fandom, damn it. That's right. I said it. It's the Bat Daddy, the Stat Daddy. My man, Greg. What's up, Greg?
What's going on, buddy? Man, it's Tuesday night and just 160 pounds of muscle, steel, and sex appeal here, ready to talk about Panthers football, you know?
There he is.
Oh, man. Happy to have you, brother. Happy to have you as always. My man, CK, the voice who makes them moist here in Charlotte, and he thinks that he might be around some current Panther players. CK, what's up, brother?
Hey, brother, I'm just happy to be here, man. I tell you what, I'm right beside the stadium, out of convenience because I knew the training camp was going to be right over here. And I walk in and I'm just seeing, granted, I'm not seeing any super noticeable, like recognizable figures, but there's guys that clearly are here for training camp, just walking all over the lobby, guys who look exactly like some of the coaches on the team that are not the main coaches, but some of those position coaches and what have you, assistant coaches and what have you. So I'm pretty sure we're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, Tony is a social butterfly if I've ever met one. That dude's going to score one of these guys to come on the podcast. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, man, that would be incredible. Tony Dunn is en route. So, dude, C3 is descending upon Charlotte. I'm pumped. I'm excited for it. And listen, man, you know why it's a special edition of the Tuesday show? Because I bought the free-for-all boys to the building to talk Panther football on a Tuesday night. You know him. You love him. If you talk some dumb shit, he might tell you to shut the hell up. It's Panther Pickle. Pickle, what's up, brother?
Hey, guys. Great to be here. I've had about 3 cups of coffee, so I should be good till at least 1 or 2 o'clock. But, hey, hopefully nobody gets told to shut the hell up tonight.
Well, hopefully. Maybe you can tell them to suck it up, Buttercup. Maybe that should be your Tuesday.
There's a lot of people out there, especially in social media. They really do need to shut the hell up and suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, hey, tell them. This is the place to tell them. Next up, this man is waving the C3 flag wherever he goes. He has been the heartbeat of the C3 Legion. My man, the brand ambassador, Diesel Skills. What's up, brother?
What is going on, Cody? Glad to be on my first episode of the flagship show, the C3, the longest running Panthers podcast, the C3 Panthers Podcast. We're all in the car together. We're on the way to the game. In this case, it's not a game, it's training camp. We're going to go check out what the Panthers are cooking up this offseason for us Carolina fans. And you know you're in the right place to be because you're listening and you're riding with C3, baby. Let's go, Cody.
Yeah, let's go, C3. Going to training camp together. Man, I'm really feeling like football is back in the air, gentlemen. I'm loving it. And hey, if football is in the air, then I want to be sniffing and smoking on what my man Kobe Griffin smoking on. Cole, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
What's going on, fellas? We have made it to the show, C3 Legion. Even if it's for the night, we're going to have a good time, man. I appreciate being on here with y'all. What's going on?
Absolutely, man. Listen, I'm happy to have y'all. Happy to have everybody in the chat. Let's go ahead and jump into that show. But actually, look at me not doing my professor duties. You know we're going to be taking your cat calls at 252-228-5098. We want to hear from y'all, man. Get in those in that chat room or call the number, leave a message, get into the YouTube chat room. We want to hear what you're excited about for this season. We also want to know who is your early training camp MVP. Before seeing anything, who are you betting is going to have a big-time training camp? We want to hear from you. Getting the cat calls at 252-228-5098. Boys, let's jump into the show. Panthers ready for first Queen City training camp. And we had a bunch of interviews today, and they were really insightful. Depending on who you were listening to, Jadeveon Clowney was really good. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about Bryce Young and some of the things that he said. But there was one clip from General Manager Dan Morgan that started making the rounds. And a lot of people are accusing Dan of essentially telling Panther fans that they need to temper their expectations on this season, but almost as if he was saying so without using so many words. Boys, I'm going to play the clip and then we'll discuss it. You tell me.
In terms of playoffs, we'll reach that, when we're ready. But I think right now we're focused on today, tomorrow, and just trying to get better as a team and as an organization.
Now, I think that was a damn good answer, and I literally think it's like textbook what you should say at this point in time. But again, you all know social media, especially if you're on Twitter, or X, however you call it. Everybody likes to run with these narratives, but do you think that this was Dan Morgan saying, hey, we'll worry about playoffs when it's time to worry about playoffs, aka not this year? Is that what any of you got from that?
I don't know if he was necessarily saying not this year, but even though it's kind of like you said, a textbook coach speak answer, I like this better than him pumping me up about how good we're going to be. It sounds like he has realistic expectations. He's seen what this team is. It's almost impossible to bring a team from where we're at to a even winning team in 1 year, especially with new head coaching and all the stuff going on. So I kind of like the answer. I mean, I'd rather him be straight with me than lie to me about it. And there's always a chance a miracle could happen and we could be a wild card team this year. I'm not saying I don't think it will, but there's the possibilities there. So
yeah.
And I think what he's saying is we're not playing right now to worry about winning the Super Bowl. We're playing right now to build the team so we can later, is what I take from that.
Yeah. I take it to mean win one game at a time. Mm-hmm. Be where your feet are. CK, how did you take this?
Bro, it's a big nothing burger. I mean, what else can he say? I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, dude's just, having to navigate a situation where we're the worst team in the NFL. I think he also understands expectations. If he comes out here and be like, yeah, we're going to be a playoff team, and he falls short, that's not a good situation, right? Whereas if he comes out and he says, hey, listen, we've got to work hard. I mean, that's kind of where it started. We've got to work as an organization. The players have to work to get better. And for me to sit here and tell you it's going to happen would be it would just be hyperbole at that point in time. There's been no evidence that supported that. And so I think it's a safe gamble to just, kind of stay there in the middle. I think he's optimistic. I would say that he's hopeful that this team turns out to be way better than he's anticipating. But I mean, you don't go from the last to, a playoff team very often. And, you know, I just, there's not enough evidence that shows that that's going to happen this year.
Yeah. How about this? Is there anyone on this panel who disagrees that this is kind of his own way of saying, look, as an organization, we're focused on getting better, but playoffs is like, even if he's not saying so many words of saying, hey, lower your expectations, maybe it's his way of saying, hey, literally no one in the building is even thinking of playoffs right now with what we're doing and just getting back in. Is there anyone who does sort of think that?
No, I agree. I agree. I believe that that Dan was, after the mistakes the previous general manager made about promising, oh, we're going to go to the playoffs, oh, we could win the division and all that. Dan kind of, plus Dan's been in football, I think, longer than the other guy has. So as a player and a coach, so he kind of he kind of knows down the road. And Dan handled it the correct way, the way that you should have handled it, the way to me a real general manager answers a question like that.
Yeah, I think so too. And we'll play some more clips a little bit later on of Dan Morgan. These, my brother, how did you take this, man? But did you feel like this was like, again, him telling people to lower expectations, or just what did you take of this? Because this kind of ran like everybody's saying that this is Dan's way of saying, hey, calm down. Let's not even think about those types of things. That's not what this team is going to be on.
To me, it showed me something that we've been looking for the past 6 years or so. It's synergy. It's cohesiveness. It's the GM and the head coach giving the same message. On the Peter Schrager interview just last week with Dave Canales said this team lacked depth, and we were a long way from where we wanted to be as far as a roster. Why would Dan Morgan get up in front of everyone and say anything different? He needs to echo his head coach. His head coach said the first thing that we need to do as the Carolina Panthers is get our football right. Our football is not right yet. And he also said our roster isn't right. Dan Morgan needs to be aligned with Dave Canales. And we saw that in the way he answered this question today, Cody. I think it's a good thing for Panthers fans. I don't think that many Panthers fans even expected Dan Morgan to say that we were going to win 12 games or 10 games after only winning 2 last year. That barely makes any sense at all.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And hey, look, man, we have a special guest. My brother, the man who makes us all smile. He's all optimism. My brother D is happy to grace us with his presence for a little while. D, what's up, my brother?
What's up, my C3 family? They got the homie Cody Lack driving the ship tonight. Hold up.
Yes, sir.
I see baby Thor. Diesel Skills in the building. Shut the hell up in the building. CK. Cole Dizzle in the building. Oh, I'm jealous of that beard. But yo, Panther family training camp is here. It is Christmas Eve. It is New Year's Eve. It is the day before your birthday. Whatever you find significant, all right? This is what this is, because like I've been saying, the Genesis. The bricks have been laid. They had the blueprints out. They had everything measuring out. They done ordered the supplies. And now we're about to start putting bricks down this week. All right, we got a full yard of puppies ready to show that they ain't just bark, that they can bite. And I'm ready for that. I'm ready to see guys get their heads clapped. I'm ready to see some pads clacking. I'm ready to see bodies get thrown. I'm ready to see passes. I'm ready to see it all. I'm ready to see the Jets have to bow down during the preseason and be like, hey, this ain't the same team we played last year.
Yeah.
I want the NFL Network to finally talk about they on the up and coming instead of trying to call us a laughing stock. Oh, boy, I done got worked up, Cody, because this is the year. C3 already. It's C3 already, family.
Yes,
so at
sir.
the end of the day, if you got any kind of doubt, you got any kind of skepticism, hang on this. We are back. I ain't talking about playoffs. I'm not talking that. I'm talking about competency. I'm talking about real football. I'm talking about the junk that gets you up out your seat and gets you excited about your team. Makes you excited on a Sunday, even if you win or lose, because you know your boys laid somebody in the dirt. That's what we're talking about. Just as C3 is on the rise, the Panthers are on the rise, everybody in that panel's on the rise, this community's on the rise. I ain't got nothing but love for you. I got to get back to doing my 9 to 5, but you know I had to come in here and let you know that I love you. So like I always say, keep pounding.
Pounding. You
Keep
know I
pounding,
had to
brother.
let
Keep
D
pounding.
come in here
And
and
I'm going to
spread
keep
that
listening.
Man.
positivity.
Hey, shout out to that Legion family. Yo, I love y'all to death. Y'all are the highlight of my day most days. It ain't always football. This is a family. We talk about everything. Cody, you know you my mans. Hey, CK,
Always.
have a wonderful time in the Queen City. And everybody that gets to meet up with C3 this weekend, show my boys some love.
Yeah.
Pound.
Pounding. Much love, D.
Yes,
That's the
sir.
man right there, man. We had to let him come on and spread that positivity. That was incredible, man. Shout
I
out.
feel better. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, how
Every
could you
time,
not
bro.
feel better? How
Shout
could
out
you
to
not feel better, man? Fantastic stuff from D, man. We love the C3 Legion, everybody that contributes all their time and effort and energy into this. We absolutely love and appreciate y'all, man. C3 for life. This Panther fandom for life. My man Cole, let me go to you, man. We haven't gotten you to speak on this yet. Is there anything to this, or is Dan Morgan kind of doing his best way of saying, hey, let's cool the Jets. This isn't necessarily a playoff team this year. We'll talk playoffs when it's time to talk playoffs.
I'm just going to use the term for this for what we're talking about. It's coach speak, even though he's GM. I'm not really too concerned about it whatsoever. Cody is not going to change the day-to-day, but when I go in the locker room, you can still do the rah-rah and get wins and playoffs and division and all that shit. So I don't think it changes anything whatsoever going forward, but you don't want him up there just taking bullets saying we're going to win 2 games or 14 games. So he did the right thing.
Right. I mean, generally, I think he did the right thing too, man. Like, I really don't know what else people were wanting him to say. Like, my question is like, show me a GM who says something different. Like, I brought this up to the boys before the show. I'm like, does the Kansas City Chiefs general manager, does he instantly go up and talk about playoffs, even though they're perennially in the playoff contention? Like, they don't do that. There's ways that you go about it, and that just it doesn't feel like it. But hey, I wanted to go to Bryce Young, as we so often do. Who is so often? Oh, go ahead, Penguin. Do you have something you want to add?
I just wanted real quick. Tony may be driving, but he's not silent. He's in the he was in the chat, and he
Yes,
says
sir.
it could be saying that if you want to talk about the playoffs, talk about it mid-December, not July.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And that's a
Oh.
common sense answer. I think that's a great
Right.
answer. And shout out to our brother Kyle of Charlotte Sports One. Dropped a $20 love bomb on the C3 Nation, baby. We appreciate you, man.
Keep pounding, brother.
This is Keep Pounding C3 family and C3 Legion. Much love, brother. Keep pounding to you. Got some boys in the chat. White Chocolate Espresso. What's up, brother? So again, let's go to Bryce Young. Bryce Young was asked about his relationship with Cam Newton and how that has continued to grow and build, and how Cam has sort of mentored him. All of the Panthers audio is terrible, especially to people in the media when they're asking questions. Sometimes it's so hard to hear. But this is Bryce Young talking about basically how his rookie year compared to Cam's rookie year, and just what type of leadership Cam Newton has brought to him in their friendship, and as their shared role of Panthers starting quarterbacks. Again, I hope you can hear it. You can barely hear it. I might have to.
I know him. I know that he's a competitor. I know he's a winner. I know that for him, the most important thing was winning, and the same way it is for me. My assumption is that that's where it came from. And also, that's not the only aspect. There's a lot of other aspects of life.
Did you do that? It just got a little louder.
So a lot of similarities we've gone through on and off the field. So
Yeah.
I don't want to speak towards for him or exactly what it is. But there are a lot of things that again he's given me guidance on, that he's made himself available to me for, which I'm very grateful for. And just being able to have that, definitely.
Now, again, it's so hard to hear, but he talks about Cam Newton, and Dave Newton asked the question in a very kind of confrontational way. I mean, again, it's a Dave Newton style question, but I mean, he pretty much said like, Cam Newton was the offensive rookie player of the year. And that was incredible. He broke rookie records, and he's like, but yours was like almost nowhere near that. I actually have the question from Dave Newton. First, I'm going to ask you, do you think that this is an unfair question by Dave Newton to ask? And I have it right here.
I wanted to ask you one other thing on Cam. When he says he's been where you are, he was offensive rookie of the year, even though the record wasn't great. So I'm just wondering, was he really where you were, or were you in a much different place than he was, and how can he help you with that?
Yeah, well, obviously I don't want to speak for him and everything that he's been through. Obviously he knows his life a lot better than I do.
A lot of people felt like the question was
that was a good response by Bryce.
It was a bad question. I mean, everybody loves David Newton, but like that was one of those ones where you're like, can you please take that back?
Yeah. Everybody knows I'm not a huge Bryce fan, but that was kind of Bush League right there. It was a little below the belt, and everybody marked the time down because I'm actually going to give Bryce a compliment here. I like the way he did handle that question. And based on last year with him speaking to the media and what I just saw right there, he's improved tremendously. He's speaking more eloquently. He doesn't say, every fourth word. That's really nice. I'm not meaning that as an insult. Right. He really does look.
It's hard to breathe
speaking this year. Yep. So that's great.
Yep.
Yeah. Tony thinks it's a fair question because he was the offensive rookie of the year. And I do think it's a fair question. And listen, people kind of go hard at Dave Newton, and his questions might not always be the most couth, but he's going to produce moments like these. Like, I feel like some people are, love the questions that the Panthers reporters ask, or they hate them. It's like always on two ends of the spectrums. And David Newton, his questions produce these types of clips that we end up dedicating a segment to on the podcast. And you're being discussion.
You're right. From a clicks perspective, it's going to get views, right? But it's not. I disagree with Tony. I don't think it's a fair question because, to Bryce's point, he can't talk about how it was different. He wasn't here when Cam was drafted, and when you look at what took place that last year, the situation couldn't have been more different. We had a potentially Pro Bowl left tackle in Jordan Gross, Ryan Khalil. We had a lot of solid pieces with Steve Smith and all these obviously having Greg Olsen and Jeremy Shockey and all that stuff. I mean, Cam Newton, you can't compare the two, and you can't ask Bryce to comment on how is it really the same. Like it was below the belt. It wasn't a question that wasn't meant to gather any additional information from Bryce. It was only meant as a way to slight what he did last year. That was all that question was meant for.
Yeah, there was no possible answer to give where he would have been right in any scenario. I mean, he did answer it well, to Greg's point. He did answer it okay, but yeah, I don't know. Some people say fair. CK says unfair. Does anyone agree with CK? D's Kobe is what he said fair?
I don't know what response he was looking for from Bryce. I mean, what do you expect Bryce to say? Do you expect Bryce to say, well, no, it's not the same because the team I was on was much worse than the team Cam Newton was on? Bryce isn't that, and Bryce ain't that kind of guy. He's not going to take shots at his teammate. He's not going to ever do that kind of thing. He's real PC, man. He keeps it in between the lines when he's on the mic. He might say, too much. I agree with Greg. I'm glad he did get rid of that. I didn't pay attention to that. It was a good point. But he's not going to take shots at anybody else like that. It was best for him to brush that aside because it was a little bit of a low punch, like they both said. If he was to start making assumptions about Cam Newton, I think that would have really pissed Panthers fans off. Panthers fans still love Cam Newton, and we want Bryce Young to have involvement with Cam Newton. Most of us do. Most of them want him to have that relationship. A lot of us want him to be team president or still be quarterback on this team, backing up Bryce and helping along on this journey. We don't want Bryce to say, Cam had more weapons than I had, but maybe this year it'll be evened up. I guess that's what Dave was looking for, to really trying to start some clicks and a fire online about what he said. But Bryce ain't going to take the bait on that. So he might as well just give up that cat and mouse game with Bryce as far as I'm concerned, Cody.
Yeah. And why do I feel like this is going to be the first of many awkward questions asked between Dave Newton and Bryce Young over the course of the year?
But
But
yeah, I agree with CK. It was really a dumb question. I don't want to maybe dumb's too strong, but at the same time, Dave is right. It wasn't. It's not the same. Cam Newton had better wide receivers. He had a better offensive line. He had a better tight end. It wasn't Olsen, but it was still a better tight end. He had a better coaching staff.
He did have Greg
Uh,
Olsen, by the way.
Oh, okay.
His rookie year.
yeah,
Yeah,
2011.
Yeah,
That was
whoever posted that
Yeah,
shit,
yeah,
Brian,
yeah,
I was
yeah. He had,
curious. I
that's
knew it
what
was
he had
really
Shockey
close.
and Olsen. I forgot Shockey and Olsen.
Man, those
But I
two
mean, he had
tight
better
end
running
sets
back.
were
You know,
savage
I mean,
too, man.
Yes, they were.
overall, and if you go back and you look at that staff, there were two legit head coaches on that staff. You had Sean McDermott, and you have who's a current head coach, and you have Ron Rivera, who was head coach for two different teams, and they even had Steve Wilkes on that staff. So I mean, you're right. Cam Newton had a much better team than
Yeah.
Bryce had. So, but still, Bryce handled that question very well for himself.
Absolutely. I do agree. And listen, I think that Bryce has been put obviously in some bad situations. I think that his ability to continue to stay cool and stay even keel, like you might not love how many times he says, he might not be the best on the microphone. He might be very soft spoken, but I think the guy has that even keel type of leadership ability that I do think is growing and getting better. There are different leadership styles, and I think his is very different. But I don't know. I think he's doing an okay job at this point. Obviously, that's going to be connected to how he plays and how he continues to grow in this offense. I mean, obviously, that's going to be huge, but we're going to talk a little bit more about him. And Dan Morgan gave a really glowing review of Bryce Young, actually. And it was in this article for the Carolina Panthers that came out. By the way, shout out to Bob the Lorax for the $10. And we appreciate you, man. Thank you for the love, Bob. We appreciate it, man. But general manager Dan Morgan, he sort of talked about this a little bit and how Bryce has really been such a hard worker. And it really feels like Bryce, out of anyone, knows how important this year is for him. General manager Dan Morgan has watched Young this entire offseason. Now, as his quarterback arrives for the second training camp, the Panthers legend sees a man prepared to take on the challenge that lies ahead, said Morgan. I think Bryce is one of the hardest working men in the locker room. I know he's on a mission. I know he's committed to be great. I know he's committed to this franchise and making this franchise great. We're going to do everything in our power to surround him with the best players, the best protection. So we've got to do our part as well. I know Bryce is hungry, he's focused, and we're super excited about him. Now, my question is, and I know CK, he just walked off screen, but CK has talked a little bit in the past about how Bryce, maybe his leadership style does leave a lot to be wanting. And the fact that he is sort of soft-spoken, and it does kind of maybe not play into his favor. But we also remember pouting Cam Newton with the towel over his head, looking real sad puppy. So my question is, just like a lot of people felt like Cam needed to mature in his leadership, do you think that Bryce is maturing? And in what ways did you see him doing that? And if he isn't, what ways would you like him to continue to evolve and be a better leader for this team?
I mean, to address the first part, I think the problem is he's too mature. You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds odd, but like, he doesn't seem, I just don't feel as though there's that chip, right? Dude's small. He should be taking everything offensive, like at a like, just at a level of like, oh, I'm about to show you, right? Like, he's been dealing with that type of, instead his conversations, like when you ask about, you've always been small your entire life, like he's like, I've dealt with my whole life, no big deal. Like, you want somebody to say, at least for me, I want him to come out and be like, man, I hear that so much, and I that's a part of what drives me to show people where they're wrong, and that I'm able to be this great, or whatever. I don't know the way to describe it, but like, I just want him to play like it. Just all the greats seem to have a chip on their shoulder, and there's something that drives them. And with Bryce, I worry that drive is just to be just to be considered a good football player, right? Not to take offense with anything, and just to constantly be politically correct, as you will, whatever that may look like. I mean, I just want some emotion. And, we saw sometimes last year where he would, but it almost still felt forced in some of those moments when he was celebrating, or when he was like over the top or something along those lines. I'd be interested to see if he does mature in that regard, from like a leadership perspective, being able to actually have confidence to talk to the people on the team and have a bit more volume when it comes to it. Like, I just can't imagine being in a huddle with Bryce Young and him trying to rah them up and being like, we're gonna fight, dude.
Right. Go team, go.
Yeah.
It's the little bitty things for me. And we brought up the Cam Newton with a towel over his head, and that was one thing I hated about Cam Newton. But the difference was Cam Newton's lows were lows, but his highs were really, really high. He was always motivating to a team. When he was out on the field, you could hear him. He was cheering. He was rah-rah. When he's on the sidelines, most of when things are going well, he's doing that. Even sometimes when they're not going well. But with Bryce, it's very monotone the whole time. There's no highs. There's just kind of lows. And I'm going to bring up a clip here, and this is of CJ Stroud, and I'm not making comparisons. So everybody in the chat, keep your panties on.
Boo! No, I'm playing.
These are the little things that players and fans want to see, that motivates you to pull for this guy, to stand behind this guy. So let me share this real quick. Do y'all see this? Watch. Yeah. Y'all tell me what Bryce Young would have done in this situation.
Guess what? Houston's going to come out of it well. That's all he's saying. You didn't need to put your hands on me and
He
push
wouldn't
me.
done that.
Whistle was blowing, and CJ Stroud.
It's little bitty
and look
things
at the
like
teammates,
that.
as you noted,
Little
Ian.
things like
how they
that
feel
that
about
makes you leave.
CJ Stroud. You don't touch our
Look at his
quarterback.
offensive lineman.
And they were mad too. They were mad too. Also, y'all remember last season when Bryce got hit and the offensive line did nothing? Like, it was a clear late hit. They threw the flag, and the offensive line just didn't care.
When they did react, it felt like your older brother who's like 8 years older than you, and you're getting picked on by somebody that's younger than him, and so they're like, "Come on, man, you don't be doing that. That's my brother." You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a we're gonna go toe to toe. It's like it was always like man, you know better than that. Come on.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is sort of what people are talking about when it comes to that vocal leadership style. And again, I don't know if he changes that. I feel like there are leadership styles, and I just don't know if that is his. Before you go pick, I wanted to say a big shout out in Panther love to Shane. He said this Panther fan had to move to Florida. Hey, man, we're all from somewhere else, brother. That's what C3 is here for, to help you feel close to Panther fans, man. This is where you want to be. Enjoy the move, brother. Get that sunshine. And real quick, shout out to Josh Dyson for the $4.99. So Bryce sounds like a therapist's son. Even killed all the time. And he is indeed the son of a therapist. So that is a good point to remember. Pickle, what were you going to say?
Shout out to Shane. JJ recently moved to Florida, so you're not the only Panther fan of Florida.
Yeah, lots of people moving to Florida.
Right. And I just wanted to say Bryce has to get he has to have some sort of fire. I think it was 10 Zizzy said in there. That said he ain't got no fire, and he don't. Even Jake Delhomme had fire. I've said it before, I can't remember how many times Jake would get sacked or the offensive line would have a bad day. And as soon as they made it to the sideline, their day got worse because Jake would corner them all and he'd go at them hard and heavy. And it was just his fire to get them motivated to do something. Bryce has to find that fire. If he don't find the fire, then I have to question whether he's a franchise quarterback, because that's still in question. And a lot of people may not like it. Some people may find it odd for me to say that, but Bryce has to prove to everybody he's a franchise quarterback, because just because he got drafted don't mean he is.
Your pickle. What people do is they confuse what you just said for you saying that Bryce isn't a franchise quarterback. Like we're coming down upon him. Literally, no one is saying that. We're saying this is an incredibly important year for a guy that we traded up to number 1 to pick for. And everything that you said is 100% fair. And I think that's something that we just have to come to terms with. And I believe we all have to a different level of this. But Bryce is a little guy, okay? He was the smallest quarterback, I believe, ever drafted. Like, the dude's a small guy. So we're going to be dealing with shit like this forever. You have Dolph Kleiman putting out a video saying Bryce Young arriving at Panthers training camp is going viral for all the wrong reasons. Fans are saying he looks like a middle school.
Damn you, pickle.
Don't make me think that. Don't la 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 la.
The other piece, listen, as it just so that I can enjoy a little bit of somebody else having to take this. Did you guys see the meme that was? It was like these guys are gonna kill it this year, and it's Marvin Harrison Jr. and you just see Kyler Murray's head, like the top of his hair, like that's all you see is his hair. It's so funny, dude.
Yeah, but it's like Bryce is small. He's a little guy for a quarterback. Like, you know, the fact that we're always talking about this, it's like annoying, but you also have to be like, this. We knew that this was going to be the territory that came with us drafting him. I mean, Greg talked about it a bunch leading up to the draft and how just compared to normal NFL quarterback standards, he doesn't measure up to those literally and physically. So, you know, I think I don't know, man.
Dye his hair. He needs to dye his hair blonde.
Yeah.
And shave
like
it like
Joe Burrow. Yeah, like Joe Burrow.
That's what he needs to do, man.
By the way, much love to Just Don't Care, who gifted 5 C3 Podcast memberships. We appreciate you, brother, for $1.99 a month. And listen, those film rooms that we were doing last year, that is indeed coming back this year. We do know we're doing film rooms, and that always goes live first to our paid members for $1.99. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. That helps us to grow C3. We appreciate you.
Hey, Cody.
Yeah, go ahead.
First thing I want to say is show's going great tonight, but it looks like right now we have 136 people in the chat, and we only have like 17 thumbs up. Y'all, it's free to hit the thumbs up, and if you hear
hit those thumbs up.
For God's sakes.
I'm also going to be putting up polls in the chat all night long, just kind of random things. The second one came up, and this is actually one of the closest ones that we've ever had. My last one was, where does Bryce need to improve the most? Team leadership, pocket awareness, reading defenses, or overall arm talent. It's 21% across the board, except for overall arm talent's 38. So it's almost it's almost like everybody has their thing they think Bryce needs to improve on. It's almost even across the board, which is
there's a lot of different ways that you could. I mean,
that
really,
ain't a good thing.
No, it's not a good thing. That means he needs a lot.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically kind of like all the above. You know what I mean? Like he sort of has a bunch of different things that he needs to work on, particularly.
So Hemlock in the chat. So one way Bryce could show everybody his leadership is to go punch somebody in the mouth.
Yeah,
right.
You're absolutely right.
Let me read Hemlock's comment.
You're
he says,
absolutely right.
Cody, you can't be talking about stature because Steve Smith was a little smaller than him that walked around like a giant. So his size has nothing to do with the way he can talk to people. Okay, but Steve Smith had the heart of a lion and the size of a 5'9" man. Like he was 5'9" in body only.
Can we we go back to my point, chip on his shoulder, right? Dude always had a chip on his shoulder, and that's where I talk about it. I mean, when we talk about leadership, I mean, just every single one. I mean, even if you want to go back to Jake Delhomme, he had a chip on his shoulder because he was undrafted. He had to come through the European Football League or whatever it was. Kurt Warner had a chip on his shoulder. I mean, you have all of these guys that are considered some of the greatest players. I only put Jake Delhomme because he's considered one of the greatest Panthers players ever that we've had. Not the, but one of the. And so, these guys, these leaders that can get a reaction out of a team that will bring them to allow them to hit that next level, they always seem to have a chip. And that's just all I'm saying is Bryce Young, it's okay to be mad about the fact that you keep getting asked about your height. It's okay to get mad about constantly being compared to CJ Stroud. It's all right to be pissed off that you're going to be compared to Cam Newton and the fact that he was such a sensation from his rookie year immediately, right? All these things, it's okay to get pissed off about it. And it's okay maybe not to have an outburst, but it's okay to say, I'm going to, I work on me and I'm going to prove the people that don't believe in me that they're wrong. That's what I'd say.
Am I wrong in thinking that he should almost lean into it? Like, I wish he'd be like, yo, shout out to my short kings doing it big. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, shout out to us little guys out here conquering the world. You know what I'm saying? Like Napoleon syndrome, that's a real thing. You know what I'm saying?
If I'm him, next time he gets a question about his height and size in the NFL, I'll be like, who won the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, bro? Like, come on now.
Yeah, they'd be like, wow.
No, I'll tell you, man. I was say, as a short man, my whole life, you've got to do that, Cody. You've got to.
Yeah.
I trust me. I know you've got to do that. Good.
One thing you can do, and I've done. I'm no taller than Bryce, to be honest. I may be a little smidgen taller, but not by much. To my opinion, Bryce has to just like embrace it. And when next time he's asked a question to do with this height, say, "Hey, I'm fighting for midgets everywhere." I mean, embrace it. Make everybody look and say, "Well, if he's going to laugh about it, I ain't going to pick on him."
Bryce used to be a Tyrion Lannister.
Or then you should make jokes. You should be like, "Man, I was so scared that they would have put the microphone too high today, man. I would have been looking." You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, if everyone's gonna like run with it,
out there with the box and stand on the box.
Yeah, right. Hey man, let me get my guy Cole in. Cole, is there something that you feel that Bryce has done to better his leadership, or how are you feeling about this? Is Bryce a good leader? What does he need to do different, if anything at all?
There's only one time that I need to see his leadership really. And he won 2 damn games last year, so he couldn't do this often. And that's coming off the field after a touchdown, rallying the troops and firing everybody up on the sideline. That's the type of leadership I want to see. And when something's bad, that he can overtake the bad things and then get us points, especially if the defense is messing up or we make a mistake and he can overcome our team. Right now, it's our team having to overcome his mistakes, and that hadn't happened either.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of truth to that. It's like all these things coincide with the team playing better. Like, as as weird as it might sound, Bryce winning, being a part of a winning team, that is going to be better for his leadership. You become a leader when the guys around you see you bringing the team to victory and doing your part to win football games. I think winning cures everything. And if Bryce can start to do that, man, that's literally what the doctor ordered for this Panther fandom. Shout out to Mike Hollinger with the $5. Says, in my own opinion, secondary is the weakest spot. They should add another vet. Who do you think is the biggest need? And this is something else that I put in the slideshow. Let me bring that up here.
Question.
Yeah. So again, there's a lot that goes into this. So today, the Panthers activated wide receiver Jalen Coker and cornerback Chow Smith-Wade. I know me and Pickle have been very high on Chow Smith-Wade. We think that he can be really good in this offense, but we don't know what we have in him yet. That is a good question. Let's just go around. What do you think, as of right now, is the weakest link on this roster? What is the biggest position of need? Is it corner? Is it defensive end or outside linebacker? Where would you try and add to this roster at this point in time to make it better? Also, keep in mind, I believe we have like $5-something-odd million in cap space right now. Mm-hmm. So, this is a very tough question. We've talked about this a lot on the free-for-all. What is the biggest holes and deficiencies on this roster?
Secondary.
Edge rusher.
Okay. I hear secondary. I hear edge rusher.
I'm gonna go linebacker just because I haven't seen what Saunders can do yet.
Thank you, Bat Daddy.
Not Saunders.
that's
But,
I was gonna say
yeah, the guy
linebacker.
who got- So linebacker's the quarterback of the defense, man. Every time we've had a great defense, we've had an awesome guy right in the middle in the linebacker.
Yeah. Dan Morgan outright did say though that they were going to look to add and open up and get someone at the outside linebacker position, that they were going to try and be aggressive at this. I don't know what options they really are right now. They don't seem to be too worried about EJ Wanham still sort of being kind of out. So, Greg, what do you think, man?
Oh, linebacker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Just the linebacker. Diesel skills. What's the biggest? Oh, yeah, or Pickle. Go ahead, Pickle.
No. I already said edge rusher. I'm fine.
All right, Deez, what say you?
Well, man, to me, Bills fans are calling Dane Jackson a solid number 3 cornerback. Now, we haven't seen a full healthy season of J.C. Horn yet in the NFL. And those two things put together has got me pretty concerned about that secondary. I don't even know how much I believe in Fuller back there, replacing Von Bell.
Name one person other than Horn on our secondary that would go and start on another team.
Can't name one.
That's a good point.
I literally can't name one.
Yeah. You know how many we can and here's the thing. Our line, edge I can kind of understand, right? I still think when you look at what we have at edge, I still think we're deeper on edge than we are in the secondary. Like, we need to have 3 corners, right? And right now, none of us can say that we have 3 corners that we would name as being the starters in game 1, right? The only person we would be able to do that is J.C. Horn. There's not another person that you'd be able to pencil in there and saying this guy's a surefire starter. That's a problem, right? DJ Wanham, surefire starter, right? I'm not saying he's going to be a good player, but he's a surefire starter, right? You have Jadeveon Clowney, surefire starter. You have linebacker. You have Shaq Thompson, surefire starter. By the way, you only need really 2 linebackers unless you're playing, 3-4. Then you're probably.
Can I ask? Isn't Shaq Thompson only a surefire starter because we have nothing else and we already paid him? He doesn't. He doesn't put up the numbers.
I mean,
where's Shaq Thompson going getting signed?
His numbers are pretty good, actually, if you look at them.
But I think there is some truth to that. He did try to go and look at the linebacker market. I believe it was last year, and he really didn't have anything. I mean, kudos to him for wanting to retire a Panther, but I do think that there is some truth to that. What Greg is saying, that he is a little bit long in the tooth now. He's coming off of a season-ending injury that he had last year. We are a little bit older at some very important positions.
Sure.
The people in the chat, like Krista Butler, saying we should have drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry. I maintain I don't know how we're going to be able to defend against the deep ball unless we go out and get either Stephon Gilmore or Adoree Jackson. I think those are the 2 names out there that are available to us.
And we don't have money for it.
Yeah, we really don't have money for it. And I heard Stephon Gilmore was training here in Charlotte, and I did see some videos of him getting in some workouts. Apparently, he is back to health. I tend to agree with CK.
That's
really
what
think
Clowney
that
said.
Cornerback.
Today when Clowney was asked about Gilmore, he said he's don't live too far from here, and he's working out. He's working out here.
Yeah.
But,
and by the way, thank you to PS for the 199. He says, "Would you trade Bryce if we get the number 1 pick?" That's so far away. I don't think we're trading Bryce anytime soon, brother.
There's so much stuff that goes in between now and when that takes place to where it would be like there's so many factors.
Go ahead.
The Panthers they are planning to bring in this week and look at Jerry Jacobs from the Lions. Now, at first I read this, I'm like, well, is he some camp guy? He has some really good stats. He's really good stats. He started 16 he started 16 games over his career. He's had 3 interceptions and a couple forced fumbles. And he picked up Bryce last year. He's also faced some pretty heavy competition at wide receiver and really looked good at it. Now, Also about the linebacker, I'll throw this question out to y'all. Dan Morgan tried in vain to sign Patrick Queens. Literally had him agreeing to a contract, except for the Steelers swooped in and offered him a smidgen more. And before we could match it, he had already signed with and agreed with the Steelers. If we would have signed Patrick Queens, who wouldn't be here?
Josie.
Or Shaq? Because right before he did that when they were trying to sign Patrick Queens, Shaq hadn't agreed to extend his contract and take cheaper deal, or Josie hadn't been signed.
Yeah, that's a great point. We were really, 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 really wanting to go after Patrick Queen. I think that was our first option. And I think Josie Jewell was who we ended up defaulting to when Patrick Queen decided to go elsewhere. And by the way, it also came out later that Patrick Queen took less money to go to Baltimore than what we were offering him here in Charlotte. Because he wanted to go,
Who would we have not signed in order to take Patrick Queen?
I personally, and this is my opinion, I personally don't believe Shaq would be on the roster. I think instead of let him accept less money, they would just let him go. It would have been their move to move on. That way,
it's a good question for sure.
But this is my opinion because Josie Jules has been part of Ivero's system before, and he knows it really well. He seems like he's that leader, that vocal leader quite often. You know, and Patrick Queens is too, but Shaq's only vocal because he has to be. That's not his real nature.
Yeah.
Cody, can I bring up two other positions that I think right now, I don't think they're by any means the top positions that we need to worry about, but something that we do need to look at. And
Absolutely.
One, there's only two quarterbacks on the roster, and with a bad offensive line and rookie quarterback, I would probably get some more depth in there because good quarterbacks are hard to find. And nobody's mentioned this, man, but a kicker. Like, how many games did Adam Vinatieri? How many Super Bowls did Adam Vinatieri win for?
Oh, dude, we already got the kicker figured out.
Not the kicker.
Well, we haven't seen
kicker.
Right, but we haven't seen him play in a game yet. Being able to kick
this is
true.
Is
way different than being in a game.
This is true. And
we may
have spoiler alert for a little bit later in Dave Newton's 53-man roster projection, he has us going with Eddie Pinheiro. Dude, I'll be so mad.
Mike K did that.
My emotions are already too invested in the kicker. Like, it's not healthy, man. I would be so fucking mad if we let go of another big leg kicker named Harrison. What are we doing, man?
They should only sell his jersey in XXL. You can't get any else.
Yeah, they'll buy it too.
And by the way, I mean, to Greg's point, I mean, he didn't miss a lot last year. He's got one of the highest, it's just that one game is the one we remember from last year where we lost against Atlanta when on that last minute field goal.
But I don't think he has a big leg either. I
Well,
think
he doesn't have a big leg.
But he doesn't have a big leg.
Exactly.
We need a guy that has a big leg in today's NFL.
No, listen, I don't disagree. I think the only thing that would make me think that maybe it's not as important is that I think that you're starting to see this idea of going for it on fourth down a lot more than you did otherwise.
Yeah.
But that doesn't discount the fact that you're down by 2 points and you're 55 yards out. You want a guy who's automatic,
I really, really want Thicker Kicker to work out.
I do
too. I really, really, really want him to work out. But
I'm tired of kickers getting hurt warming up.
Yeah.
Warming up on the sideline, the kicker gets hurt, and then we don't score any points the last two games because we don't have a kicker to come in and kick a field goal. We're going for it on fourth downs, and we get that stat rubbed in our face all off season about how bad the offense was and couldn't score in the last two games. We didn't have a kicker. It's aggravating. I want somebody maybe younger and healthier than Eddie Pinheiro, Graham Gano. Tired of those guys.
I mean, another quick key is if you cut Eddie, you're going to save like about $1.5 million in your cap.
Why not?
I mean, that's That may not actually be enough to worry about cutting him, but nonetheless, it's still something.
I mean,
And
to Greg's point, we haven't seen the thicker kicker actually kick in a high stress environment
You're
yet
right.
either.
You're right.
Like that's a big deal. Like if you don't have somebody who, like we could talk about Joey Slye all we want, right? He had that big leg and he was able to make some crazy cool kicks, but dude missed a lot of big time kicks because of it. There's a difference between those power kickers and those accurate kickers. Sometimes you get the perfect guy who's able to do it like a Justin Tucker or Harrison Butker, but it's not often.
If we could get Pinheiro and Sly to have a baby together, it'd be the perfect kicker. Then you'd have the distance and the accuracy.
Call him Sly Pinheiro.
Yeah.
Or if we had a Buckner. Oh wait.
Oh wait.
Generally, NFL teams though, when they find that kicker, they don't let him go, and that's
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm hoping that we give him the chance. Like I and by the way, we also don't know what's how that is going to resolve with Eddie Pinheiro wanting a new contract.
Right.
I mean, he wants to get paid. Who is interested in paying Eddie Pinheiro?
We just need to clone him, y'all. We just
Somebody
need to find
will
out how to
eventually.
clone Harris Buckner.
But
Hey,
listen, man. Yeah, go ahead.
Wasn't it the longest kick in SEC history, and wasn't it a game winner, a 61-yarder, like a walk-off win for the thicker kicker? I'd say that was a big game-winning kick or a big pressure kick.
Oh
that was in
man,
there.
Yeah,
The
but
dude
I
is
saw
awesome.
Bryce Young do some big pressure things in college that he didn't do in the pros.
Yeah,
so.
but listen, man, when you're the kicker, I want to know that you can hit a bomb in that clutch moment and nail that thing, man. I know Eddie Pinheiro did not in Atlanta, but that's a whole nother issue, man. Listen, this is the part of the show where we listen to you, C3 Faithful. Let's jump into the cat calls. If you would like to leave a message and let your voice be heard, the number is 252-228-5098. Leave a message and have your voice be heard on the longest running Panthers podcast on the web.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in the snow? Who's that kid that can use one?
Yes, sir. It is big show time. I know you guys haven't heard from me in a while. Just came to say what's up with you, man.
What up?
But, it's Lou from Fort Myers, and this weekend I'm very excited for because I literally leave work and I'm taking a 10-hour trip to be there for Fan Fest on Saturday. So I'm gonna be there Saturday. Pop out with my Cam Newton jersey. You know what I mean? You're probably going to be able to spot the Florida boy from everywhere, you know what I'm saying? But pop out with a Cam Newton jersey on. I'm going to be taking my friend. I'm literally just going to go there, get some flying biscuit in North Carolina, get me some food, and then I got to head right back because I didn't even get to update y'all on my life, but hey, man, it's crazy how I went from watching the Panthers, and then you know how you guys got the Quinn City FC. I started my own Sunday league with a bunch of my boys, as you know, me and the coach, me beating the coach, and you know, it's like hearing you guys, watching everybody else go fulfill their dreams. I wanted to do something, you know, that was fulfilling and something I always wanted to do, which is like soccer and coaching. So I was like, flip, what the heck, you know, why not try it? And so, yep, that's where we are now. We on week 2. We 0-2 right now, but that's going to change next week. We're going to get the dub. But yeah, I just want to say shout out Cody, shout out CK, shout out Tony Dunn, shout out Panther Pickle, shout out everybody. It's been a little minute, but y'all going to see me Saturday turned up, screaming. I'm going to go and lose my boys. I'm going to do all that shit. Got to make sure I get that Bryce Young autograph for my poster. But yeah, yes, sir. I can't wait to see y'all. If y'all do show up, if y'all don't show up, I can't wait to see y'all, man. Love y'all. Take care, man. And I definitely tune in to the podcast tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, brother. Shout out Lou, man. Yeah, listen, C3 is descending, man. We're going to be at the training camps. We're going to be at Back Together Saturday, July 27th, and we're going to do a live podcast at Resident Culture in South End Charlotte. I'll post the link in the chat room here in a minute, or if Greg or CK wanted to do it. It's Resident Culture. It's the South End location. We're going to be doing a live podcast. Come and hang out. It's going to be a great time, and we can't wait to see y'all there, man. But shout out to Lou. Let's jump into the next call.
Yo, my C3 family.
Did you run up?
For North Carolina. Yo,
cover me for a second.
Nothing but the best of well wishes and travel for CK, Coach Dizzle, and the great Tony Dunn. But shout out to the master of ceremony, the homie Cody Lack. To my homie, my brother from another mother. These ill skills, Kobe, Panther Pickle, shut the hell up. Yo, training camp is here. Beautiful time, probably about 2 weeks away from the first preseason game. Pads clacking, and we get to see our Carolina Panthers in action. I'm highly excited. I'm thoroughly excited. I can't wait to be beside my brothers in arms as we get better and better through training camp in the preseason. And then we with my family as we go through the regular season in the mid. Well, it's about to be party time because the party is we are better, people. We are better. And we're about to go out there and show the thing. I see Shaw Smith Wade. He's cleared to go out there. Some other guys that we had issues with look like they're going to be on the men's quite soon. I'm really ready to get this competition going and see who really wants it and see who's a dog. Because right now, all I see is a yard full of puppies outside of the older ones. But I want to see that the old ones still got a bite in them with that ball, and that these young ones ain't just yapping, they biting too. It's time. And like I had said in a pod earlier, it's time for us to unite, all right? I'm tired of the different sides arguing, Bryce, is he this and is he that, or a defense is this and this is that, and this is the same old retread from last year and everything else. All that is irrelevant now because we are in training camp, a new season, which means everybody is 0 and 0. So let's get ready to watch these boys lay these bricks so we can go from 0 to 0 to 1 and 0 and etc. And as I always keep it, my Panther family.
Pounding. Great call, man. Great call. So that kind of leads me to this as we're amping up for training camp, man. Like there's so many players that we're excited about. Is there a player that each one of you are really hoping that we're talking about very soon as having a wonderful training camp? Like who is your early odds-on favorite for training camp MVP?
Odds-on favorite?
In your opinion, yeah.
Odds on. See, the problem is it's so hard to be able to say that an offensive tackle or a defensive lineman is good because, I mean, they can't actually tackle Bryce when they're going, on those 2-minute drills. So you're almost handicapped into talking about just receivers or Bryce or cornerbacks. Odds on favorite, I gotta say Xavier Legette.
Oh, okay. All right. That's a good one. I mean, that's one I think that we would all be happy about if Xavier Legette just turned out.
Now, if the question were where you were going initially and who is it that who is it that we want to see, like be the training camp darling, the guy who is like, man, he is the guy. I think it'd be really cool to actually see Jonathan Mingo do something. If we can somehow put together a wide receiver core of guys that are going to be on our team for, on a rookie deal for the next 3 or 4 years with Xavier Legette and Jonathan Mingo, we can have a lot more uncertainty be answered before next season's off season, where you're going to have to worry about what you're doing with Adam Thielen and Johnson. because Johnson's not here after this year. This is a 1-year deal for him, and unless we want to sign him. And if we have to sign him, that means he's going to want good money if we're wanting to bring him back. So best case scenario is Jonathan Mingo and Xavier Legette come out here and have a breakout training camp.
Okay. Mingo and Legette, I think either of those are good answers. Greg, what say you, man?
I was going to say Xavier Legette as well because I think that
You can have the same answer.
Well, I'm going to change it. I got another one, but I was going to say because of that, because having a dynamic wide receiver, if you can get that unstoppable wide receiver, it completely changes the game up. It makes your quarterback so much easier. It's great. But another one I would go with is Sanders, the tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you got to see tight end is a quarterback's bailout best friend. And if we had a tight end, not had to be as good as Greg Olsen, but somebody out there that could actually be a great tight end to be a receiver and not just a blocker, it would change Bryce Young's game up completely.
I like that.
I think that having a good tight end is key. Look at every great team in the NFL. They have a great tight end. Just saying.
Yeah, it all depends on how fast our guys can come around. I'm hoping to still see the further evolution of Tommy Tremble. I'm still excited about Tommy Tremble. I think Tommy Tremble can be a damn good tight end. We just need to give him the opportunities to actually catch the ball sometime. My man was out here hurdling fools, bro. I love me some Tommy Tremble. Diesel Skills, brother, what say you, man? Who is your odds-on favorite, in your opinion, to be the training camp MVP? Or, who are you most excited about?
Oh, I wanted to be XL so bad, but I can't use him. So I heard everything I needed to hear today, and I heard it from Jatavion Clowney. He was talking about that defensive front was solid. He said, we've got guys here that can set the edge and stop the run. So I hope that it becomes a big point of contention and maybe even ignites a little fire within this Panthers team with Jatavion coming off that edge and Icky trying to run block him. I hope the guys take stopping the running game real serious in practice, and I hope the guys on the offensive line open up those holes real serious in practice. And I hope those guys get to jawing back and forth and fighting back and forth and showing some spark that can grow into a fire for this Panthers team this season, Cody. That's why I want to see some action in the trenches on this Panthers offensive and defensive line.
I like that. Some trench work. Man, that's what we've been in need of for so long, man. Pickle, what say you, man? You have an MVP?
I'm going to go completely off the wall. Charles Smith-Wade is going to be MVP.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
or
awesome.
what'll probably be somebody who we don't expect, and somebody who's going to enter free agency next year, back to Marshall. But I like it to be Charles Smith-Wade.
The only issue I have with trying to pick a cornerback is that means that these wide receivers aren't doing a great job, and it means Bryce Young's not doing a great job. And so if it is Charles Smith-Wade, I think we're in for a long season because this offense was supposed to be better.
That's true.
Yeah, but also I like the fact that it would mean that a young guy who was drafted late ended up turning it on or doing something good for the Panthers. Like that almost never happens for us anymore at all. Let me get my brother Kobe in here. Kobe, you have an MVP, bro?
For summer camp, I'm getting ready to shock at least Deez and Pickle because they know how much I rag on this guy, and I'm nauseous in my stomach getting ready to say this to y'all. But if the offensive line does what they're supposed to do, Miles Sanders is going to be the MVP of the summer workout.
Absolutely. Miles Sanders.
Dude, just when you thought you know somebody. Just when you thought you know somebody.
I don't disagree with that.
The only way that works if Robert Hunt and Wilson do their thing. If it happens and they open holes and he can hit it full speed and not dance around like he's been doing for a year, he can be MVP of the summer.
We know that final year with Philadelphia, he was able to be 1,000-yard rusher and he had over 10 touchdowns. So
every year in Philadelphia was better than Chuba Hubbard's best year last year.
Absolutely.
If you look at the stat, every year he had in Philadelphia was better than Chuba's best year last year. It just was.
I honestly, I think that might be the best person out of all of them to because I think that's enough of an outlier where it's like, okay, but it's also makes sense because the dude was actually a really good running back in the league. So To assume that one down year on a completely inept offense is enough to say the dude's a bust is not. It's not worth. It's you can't do that. Colby, that's a great pick, dude. That's a great pick.
Yeah,
It hurts me to say, honestly, because I have talked more shit than anybody in this community about that man. But I would love to see it, honestly, CK.
Yeah, I think we need it, man. Especially if we're gonna have Jonathan Brooks like wait out the first half of the season to get healthy. Yeah, we need somebody like Miles Sanders to be able to turn it on. Man, my man D Money came back around. He said, "I'm not done spreading the positivity." D Money, who is your early odds-on favorite to be training camp MVP, my brother?
Yo, so it's two-part because I had to have a defense and an offense. I feel like that's the only way
I like
that
that. I like that. I like that.
I'm going first defensively, Josie Jewell. All right. One, he knows the Avero system. He's smart. He has gave production to Denver when he was in that system. And I feel because he can hit the ground running, he's going to be a standout in camp. I just believe it to the bottom of my heart. And this one right here, I'm going to make Kobe get a little diarrhea, might vomit a little bit. But I do believe that we're going to see a TMJ resurgence. I'm just playing.
Woo,
I'm
that's
just playing.
wilder than
I'm
what I
just
said.
playing. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
He said, I'm
I
playing.
It's the combination of Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis, because I got a feeling even though they can't get but so physical in camp, somebody's getting thrown. And I'm ready to be there to see somebody get thrown. I've seen so many clips of Damian Lewis, WWE in the cat. I done seen Robert Hunt, WWE in the cat. I'm ready to see a rock bottom at training camp. That's where I'm at with it. So Hunt and Lewis, that combo, Josie Jewell, I feel like he'll hit the ground running, and we're going to feel a lot better about the addition of Josie Jewell by the time we leave camp, family.
I need
that. Right, man. Josie Jewell. Man, he's a wild card to me.
If I feel better about that, I feel better about the entire defense.
Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie to
absolutely.
you.
No, that's all great, man. TMJ. I mean, listen, TMJ has been training a lot with Bryce. Now, they've been doing that the year before, and it didn't really count for too much. But if they can continue to establish some type of connection, like I know it gets tiresome to say, but man, TMJ, he had the physical abilities and the gifts to be a good wide receiver, but it's like he just hasn't put it all together yet, man. If he could do something nice this year, man, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate that at all, man. And thank you to Panther Theory for that super sticker, brother. We appreciate you, man.
He's got a lot of competition this year, too. I mean, think about it. If TMJ is going to even get play time, he's got to play better than Mingo, Thielen, Leggett.
Oh,
like, I mean,
he's going to be lucky to
sink or swim,
he's
Tom.
going to be lucky to get on the field.
His reps are going to be with third string.
Mm-hmm. So,
And to be honest,
Jalen
that's what
Coker
I
is going to
love.
get a better opportunity than he does.
I think just the fact that wide, you got a group of guys in that wide receiver room that really doesn't have a definite edge over the other one right now just makes us better, because these guys have got to put out, they've got to show that they can perform on this team. And I just feel for that fact that those guys are coming in here, they're looking at the guy across from them. This man might have my job.
Yeah,
I might not get no burn. This man might be in the way of my contract. And that's why I love, because there's so many positions in this camp where people are fighting for their livelihood. And just like every single one of y'all in y'all walks of life of what y'all do, y'all not going to let no man stand in your way of providing for your family and for yourself. And this next 2 weeks right here is people fighting to feed their family. And I believe truly and wholeheartedly that iron sharpens iron. And that's another reason why I said the Panthers are on the rise.
Pound. Shout out my man D coming in with those optimism bombs. I love it, man.
I like what you said right there, and I love the way you put it too about, people are going to fight for their families and do what they have to do for their families. And this is my issue with guaranteed money. Because once you get the guaranteed bag, do you really have to fight that hard to feed your family? You've already done it. You don't have to fight that hard to feed your family where you got a guaranteed bag. No matter what happens to you, you got the money.
Yeah. Like what motivates? I mean, that's a good point. I mean, listen, when you're fighting to prove something, I mean, bro, Food, that's a powerful motivator. You know,
Why do you think
your
salaried
family,
employees are less motivated
that's
than
a
hourly
powerful
employees?
motivator.
Who hypothetically, if you say Johnson is your 1 and Leggett's your 2 and Adams your 3, who's your 4? Because during OTAs, which I don't know they include OTAs, but
So
Marshall was ahead of Mingo in OTAs.
So Pickle,
And
let's
if you get to the
yeah. Well, I was gonna say let's shelve that for a minute because
Yeah.
we're gonna react to Dave Newton's 53-man roster, and we're gonna
Right.
get to all of that. Like basically, if Dave got it right, if he got it wrong, who we would add, all that different good stuff. Panthers Prime Podcast for the 199. It's just a great show, fellas. We appreciate you, man. Y'all go check out and subscribe to Panthers Prime Podcast. We always say with these
Good show.
social media streets, all these Panther content creators, the rising tide lifts all boats, man. Support Panther content creators. Shout out to Riz B in the chat. Gentlemen, let's take another call.
Podcast brothers, how y'all doing? I know it's been a minute. Y'all know who this
G.
is. It's Mr. 910 representing Jacksonville, North Carolina. G. Cavassier. Hey man, I watched that press conference today. I think it was a pretty good press conference, and maybe this is just me. I didn't get anything out of that. Did you guys get anything out of it? I didn't. I mean, it was good to, hear Clowney talk and I saw a segment with Dan Morgan. I saw Bryce Young talk. And I like Bryce Young because he's our quarterback, but I don't like to hear him talk. It's annoying because he says this phrase, He says, so much. It's annoying. And I don't know if he's nervous or I don't know if that's the way he is. I'm like, stop saying He's like, the offense, we're trying our best this year and, to be a better team. Stop saying you fucking, That's just annoying as fuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I can't wait for football season, and I'm still waiting to see that running back Jonathan Brooks out of Texas, man, because he's not on IR or whatever no more. But I know they're going to take it slow, but I'm ready to see this dude. I really am. Because he could be our Alvin Kamara. He could be. That boy was nasty in Texas. He was nice as hell. But give me your thoughts on the press conference and what you guys think of Jonathan Brooks, y'all. Keep pounding.
Shout out to G. Marcy.
Shout out G. Listen, Jonathan Brooks. I mean, knowing how we have built our offensive line to run the ball, I'm so excited for Jonathan Brooks. Like, I think he has a ton of potential to really be a good player for us. I just don't know how early that's going to be because of that injury. He might start on the PUP list. I'm not sure. It kind of looks like he's trending in that direction. But what say y'all? What are you all expecting from Jonathan Brooks this season? I'm gonna start with Cole. Cole, what are you expecting from Jonathan Brooks in 2024, man?
A lot more than probably all of y'all are, and a lot more than the fan base probably is. I'm gonna be really honest. I understand you don't want to rush him back in, Cody, but if they look at his knee and it is strong, close to what I'm not saying week 1, but that first month of the season, if his knee is strong and the doctor says it's okay, what is the damn point of waiting until November if he's not going to be any more healthy than he is in September? Run his ass out there. If you do that, this offensive line can block and you give him the ball, and if Canales is serious about that and sticking to it, why not 1,000 yards? He's that explosive, and I'm dead ass serious.
1,000 yards. I'm into it, man. Sign me up. If we get a 1,000-yard rusher out of this O-line and this offense in general, yeah, I'm into it.
Well, the NFL is very cyclical about how it changes, like it's what's hot and what's going on. And like as of late in the last few years, it's been big on passing game, big passing game. The NFL's changed rules to help the passing game. It's all been about quarterbacks and wide receivers. So if we could get an elite running back, which are far and few in between in the NFL right now, and it does zig to that point where, because it's going to come back to running backs again eventually, that would be a great thing to have, is a solid young running back, behind the line.
Yeah. Deez, what say you, brother?
I'm hoping I'm hoping that Jonathan Brooks is the cheat code that unlocks this Dave Canales offense. We look back to Dave Canales and his play calling for the Buccaneers last season. 274 carries went to White. He was a bell cow back for Dave Canales. He also had over 60 receptions. And I'm hoping Jonathan Brooks comes in somewhere between week 4, week 6, along with the emergence of Jatavion Sanders as a pass-catching tight end. And those two together open up this offense and give it options and abilities that it didn't have last year, and it may lack to begin this season. But it always takes time for NFL offenses to catch up with the defense. So I give Dave Canales and this offense at least 4 weeks to get things really rolling. Not to say that we look anywhere as near as pathetic as we did in the preseason against the Jets last year, or that we look anywhere as bad to start the season. But maybe a little bit rusty, maybe not quite hitting on all cylinders, maybe running the ball in some spots where you said, well, man, I kind of wanted to see the Panthers pass there. But once we get Brooks injected into this lineup and we start to see Sanders emerge and get his footing as an NFL tight end and a pass catcher, then I think this offense is ready to run. And we're ready to get out here and score some points and run up against some teams and put up some points against them. And Lord knows, maybe even come back and win a game. So I really do think Brooks is the key to this whole thing. I think his pass catching ability and his ability to run within that zone scheme. Go back and look at his tape at Texas. The guy is a nightmare in the zone blocking scheme, an absolute nightmare. He has a good nose for where to go with the football, and good luck catching him if he's running away from you, Cody.
He's just the type of weapon that Bryce needs. Like we were all saying, man, imagine if he had a Christian McCaffrey type of weapon at his disposal. Now, granted, it's very lofty to say Jonathan Brooks compares to McCaffrey. However, the skill set of being able to catch passes, being able to line up as a wideout, and to be able to run in between the tackles and be able to bounce it to the outside, the guy is an all-purpose running back. He is what a running back looks like in 2024. So that's what I think that everybody's really excited about. It's just that injury. Is that injury going to be what kind of holds him behind the curve a little bit to start the season, depending on how healthy he is? CK, did you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is if Colby's right about Miles Sanders, then yes, Jonathan Brooks is going to be a great running back for us.
And that's kind of why I did what I did. I'm glad you called that, sir.
Yeah. So, and it's because, Miles Sanders' success in Philadelphia was because he was behind one of the greatest offensive lines that we've seen this past decade, and if he can return to that form behind this new revamped offensive line, that's gonna do wonders for the player Jonathan Brooks when he's able to start taking some reps. I think the dude's going to get an opportunity. I think he's going to come fast when he's ready to get out there and start running the ball. I think he's going to be as Dees was talking about. I think that Canales tends to run with one guy. He doesn't do this whole let's see what this guy's got. Let's see what this guy's got. He's like, you're going to be in there. You're going to run the ball. We're going to get you the touches that you're looking for. Let's be real about it. It's not like White was a world beater. The dude wasn't out there. Like, he's not considered a top 10 running back or anything like that. And they still kept him on the, in the game every single, for the majority of their run plays. Whereas last year, you look at the Panthers, we had one guy that was clearly better than all the others, and that was Chuba Hubbard. And we would still put Blackshear in. We'd still put Miles Sanders in. We were still, swapping in and out and all that stuff. I don't know. I think that there's something to that point. So I think Jonathan Brooks is going to get an opportunity. He's going to get a lot of them.
I think we're kind of looking at a double-edged sword here too. With that we were talking about whether we want to sit Jonathan Brooks and let him rest and heal up, or whether we want to put him in right away. And based on what Miles Sanders does towards the beginning of the season in training camp, look at it like this: if Miles Sanders does really, really well, then you have an argument to let Brooks rest. If Miles Sanders does really, really bad because of the offensive line, or whatever, then you also have an argument to let Brooks rest. So I don't see them putting Brooks in anytime soon, whether Sanders does good or bad. But seeing Sanders do good would be a good omen for Brooks in the future. I just don't see if Sanders is doing really well, if he's putting up Philadelphia numbers like he did when he was there, you're not going to pull him to put a rookie running back coming off an ACL in there, So it's so tough to decide what they're going to do. But I don't think there's anything that makes us more solid argument than letting him rest. He's young.
One thing.
I mean,
One thing I want-
but the difference here is he's coming off an ACL from November, right? It's not like it happened in January or anything like that. I know November's still somewhat late, but it's still like that is, that's not nearly as concerning of a timetable as it would be as if it was like a January ACL.
Good point.
Now, not to say there shouldn't be some caution when it comes to moving forward with him. I do agree with that point. I think that if Miles Sanders is doing well, there's no reason to try to put a guy in who's not quite ready yet. But I do think that they're going to want to see what he has to offer, and they're going to want to see what he has to offer quickly. When he is ready, that's why I believe even if Miles Sanders is out there, I think they're going to do a split rep situation, and I think Jonathan Brooks has the potential to quickly take over all those reps.
Yes, sir.
That's why they have to pull Jonathan Brooks off PUP before the start of the regular season.
Yeah,
If
otherwise
they don't.
4 games.
He has to stay on there 4 games. I think they're going to pull him off the PUP before the regular season. That doesn't mean he'll be active, but I think he'll come off the PUP for that. I do think though that he'll be ready to go before week 1. Now, if as far as health wise, maybe they want to keep him inactive for a few weeks to make sure he's fully trained up, because there's a training issue right after he gets healthy enough to practice.
Yeah.
So.
I think the best case scenario is that Sanders does have a great year. It's because then you give Brooks the chance to rest and learn the offense, and you can trade Sanders away the next year for a valuable piece. I mean, if he has 2 out of 3 years where he's a top 10 running back, because the year before he was with the Panthers, he was a top running back. And if he can do that this year, you have 2 or 3 years for a running back. That's a pretty good record. He'll sell for a good price.
Yeah,
that would be the best case scenario, I think.
I don't disagree. I mean, having the ability to have him prove what he's able to do could be a win-win situation for the Panthers. I just don't see them going the entire year without Jonathan Brooks.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah,
being a heavy part of what it is. But then that starts to open the question mark about Chuba Hubbard. What is his place on this offense going to be? I mean, it's going to be like we talk about the running back or the wide receiver competition. That running back competition is stiff. And
yes, it is. They have a lot of depth.
They do have a lot of depth. I mean, even from Blackshear to Miles Sanders to Chuba Hubbard to Brooks. I don't. What is it? Wasn't there somebody else that's interesting on that?
Who else? I feel like you missed somebody. I was trying
Rashad
to think.
Penny.
Rashad Penny.
Yeah,
and part of the Rashad Penny Blackshear can do returns.
Yeah,
Chuba did him. I don't remember if Chuba did him. Chuba did him his rookie year or something, but I don't remember it.
Well, even if he did, you don't want Chuba on returns, I think. I think that we have to remember that, too, that they're going to have new kickoff rules this year. So they're going to require those shiftier types of skill sets. I think that lends good for Blackshear. I think that lends good for ISM and Lewis Smith-Marset. But, yeah, on Jonathan Brooks, I'm gonna lay the claim. I think he won't start the first 4 games. I think he'll be on PUP. And I think when he comes back, he's still going to do what Cole says, and he's going to push for that 1,000. I think our offense is built for someone like him to hit the ground running. So I'm super excited about Jonathan Brooks. And there's so many different ways to utilize him. I trust Dave Canales and Brad Izzik to be able to figure something out. Final cat call of the night.
Hey guys, it's John B. Jenkins here with your European League of Football weekly update and the update on your favorite team, the Washcloth Panthers. Yeah, that's right, the Washcloth Panthers. I was sick this weekend and woke up, saw the notification of the game on YouTube, checked the highlights, and I think we ended up losing 40-0. I don't even think there was but one offensive highlight of the Panthers in that highlight series. Everything else was just the Stuttgart Surge. And they even ended the game with 13 minutes to go in the third quarter, I think, because they said that the field conditions were bad. Like, go back and watch the highlights. and the ref comes out and says, "We are ending the game because the field conditions are bad. Have a safe trip home." And that was it. So, I don't know. I'm going to stick with this
felt like I was
team
in
to the end
Germany
of
for
the
a minute.
season and probably into next season because I think I have Stockholm Syndrome at this point.
Oh,
But
no.
I'm looking forward to the Carolina Panthers. Training camp starting. Our guys are showing up. In the meanwhile, I'll keep you updated on how the Wroclaw Panthers, or Washcloth Panthers, as I may start calling them, how they finish the season. But anyway, as always, keep pounding Carolina Panthers, keep pounding Washcloth Panthers, and keep pounding C3. John B. Jenkins out.
That was the most Panther shit I've ever heard in my life.
I know, man, dude. We can't escape this Panther shit everywhere in the world, dude. It's like we're on the same bullshit. Dude, shout out to John. Dude, RIP to the Washcloth Panthers. Hey, man, you guys to get it together. You know, the Panthers are trying to do their thing and get it together. But that remains to be seen. I don't know if we will, but hey, man, I'm definitely pumped. Before we jump into the 53-man roster that Dave Newton put out, I wanted to show everybody this is courtesy of Carolina Blitz. A lot of you are going tomorrow. If you are going tomorrow, this is the new digs that the Carolina Panthers have built for training camp. So now, CK, you might have to help me out on some of this because I don't know which one.
This is the VIP area.
Okay.
Right here. So on the other side where the other end zone is at, because this is one end zone, the other side where the general admission is going to be this pan. You're going to see it right there. That's going to be over there in that area to the left.
Right there.
That's going to be the general admission area. And so that's where if you were PSL, so me, Cody, and Tony will be on the VIP side. If you guys are there, you're more than welcome to hit us up. They're gonna have food and drinks that are all included in the VIP. And so if you guys are over there, that's gonna be sick, man. We can all kind of get drunk together if you wanted to.
Yes, sir.
Because it's all included, brother. But if not, man, we're going to be in the general admission for Back Together Saturday and the fourth practice, which is Monday, which is the last day where I'm going to be there, and I believe Tony will be there. But that's all the general. It looks like it's all still under, like there's still bleachers underneath cover, which is really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I'm trying to get a lay of the land. You know, your
Can
boy
I tell you
being
what I would hate about this though?
What?
Like you see, the issue I could see happening here is you see that top part of the bleachers in that like when she was zoomed in, the slope on that tent, you would not be able to see what's going up on the field when you're sitting up on the top bleachers.
I thought I looked at this earlier and I thought the same thing.
Oh, that's a good
Not
point.
very well designed. Yeah, that's good. That was a really good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to be sitting up there anyway. I imagine I'm going to be somewhere around the bottom of these things.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks like it's a good view, and the fact that they were able to put this up in such a like a relatively short amount of time.
Dude, I'm flabbergasted. When you saw where this was at just a matter of like a month ago,
I know.
It's wild that this is what it is. I know that a lot of this is just plug and play assembly that they've been able to, implement here. But I mean, even with that, it's wild the fact that they were able to do that. Also, this cooling trailer they have, it's pretty sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a video of them talking about it too. They have a trailer where you can go in, and I believe it's like minus 20 in there.
No, 20 degrees. 20 degrees.
Okay, I knew I saw 20. Yeah, it's really, really cold. Now they're saying that there might be some rain tomorrow. Now they're saying there might be some rain tomorrow. I don't know if it's going to be like sweltering hot heat. I don't know if it will be. I don't think it will be, but I don't know, man. This is really cool what they were able to put together. And CK, you're right. When I was showing you what they had done on one of the Tuesday shows a few weeks ago, it was like, man, we didn't even know if this was going to be possible to have fans here. And the fact that they did it, man, that's a testament, one, to the Panthers organization, and 2 to the city of Charlotte for like making this look the way it does, and the zoning and all that good stuff. And yeah, man, shout out to him. It's going to be a really incredible time. But yeah, shout out. Yeah.
If I may add, I did read that is real grass. It's not turf grass. It's real grass.
Oh, that's going to be soaking. I drove in today, and it was torrential downpours, man. That's going to be super muddy tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
supposed to rain all weekend too, I believe.
So, and I thought, well, they're going to put real grass down for practice, and they're going to use turf for real games. That makes, I guess.
Yeah, so. That's just
anyway. So
doesn't make sense for the life of me either, people. No. But gentlemen, let's jump into this 53-man roster, and I feel like we sort of started to do this before we jumped into it, but yeah, let's just jump on to this. We start with the quarterback position. We have Bryce Young and Andy Dalton. Now, Greg, you were talking about this earlier, and that you feel like maybe the Panthers might get a third one, or maybe they might get a guy that they can sort of shove onto the practice squad to have as like a backup in their back pocket. But yeah, only riding with 2. Dave Newton says Canales wants to develop a third quarterback, but he'll likely do that on the practice squad with the undrafted rookie Jake Plummer or a player to be added later. But the focus is on Young and getting the best out of him the way Canales has done with Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and Russell Wilson. As our running backs, and Pickle, we were talking about this, we have Jonathan Brooks, Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, and Raheem Blackshear. So he doesn't have Rashad Penny making our running back room. I mean, boys, we'll go through every position, but for quarterbacks and running backs, do you think this list is accurate? I'll just come out and say it. I think Rashad Penny is going to make it over Blackshear.
Yeah.
Just because they have a pass together in Seattle with Dave Canales and Rashad Penny. So I just would tend to favor him because he knows him.
Rashad Penny, yeah, but he's got a different skill set than Raheem Blackshear. Rashad Penny's pretty much the power back, and Rashad Penny's more of a scat back. Or no, I'm sorry, Raheem Blackshear is more of a scat back, and Rashad Penny's a power back. But Rashad Penny is often hurt a lot. So the question remains whether he even makes it to the regular roster. But if you go back to those return kickoff rules, you have to have 2 returners, not one. You have to have 2 returners in the backfield. So if you add those 2 returners, I can see it be Raheem Blackshear and ISM, because those were one of the highest rated kick returners this past season, a returner wise. And Raheem Penny did it, but he did it like 4 years ago anyway. He did it early in his career with on Seattle. But it says right down there, it says once Brooks is healthy, he will be the starter because of the versatility he has over Hubbard and Sanders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
See, this is what I want to know. This is what I want to know, Cody. We had a coach in the past. I don't know if you remember. You probably tried to block it out of your mind. He used to keep players that played for him in college, Temple and Baylor players. And just because those players were connected to him in the past, we knew good and well they were going to make the roster. Well, does Dave Canales operate this team in the same way? Just because Rashad Penny had played for him in Seattle, does that automatically guarantee Penny a roster spot? Or is it true competition like Dan Morgan was talking about in his press interview today? That's what I want to see. And I think this is a good litmus test of that itself. If we keep Raheem Blackshear because he's a better returner and cut Penny, even though he had previous ties with Canales, that kind of tells us that Blackshear earned the job. And I think that's what most Panthers fans want to see, Cody.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that is a great point. That if Raheem Blackshear comes out and makes it, Canales has already told people at the combine that, hey, I'm not playing favorites. I have no connection to guys that were on this team before or not. The best player is going to play. And if that is true, if it's Raheem Blackshear, then you are right, Deez. That means that they are living up to their claim of letting the competition dictate who plays. I think that is fantastic.
Plus, Raheem Blackshear is a way cooler name than Rashad Penny.
Yeah, he does. He does. I'm not even going to front. By the way, before we go on to the next group, you were talking, CK, about the cooling trailer. So this is one of the Panthers, I guess, training staff guys talking about the cooling trailer. Again, all Panthers media is kind of hard to hear. And this is actually from Sheen and Quick, so take it for what you will.
It'll fit about 30 players. So it's going to be a 20, or because you said right now it's 20. Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, obviously, like when you're coming in and out, like you're going to lose a little bit of cool, but it's set at 20 degrees. So by the time you get the door shut, it'll cool back down. And you can set it lower, but based off of what we've been told, 20 is the kind of the baseline for it.
Good, man. Our Panthers need amenities.
$200,000.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, if you're David Tepper, you better pay for that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
I need one of them where I work at.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to throw it out there. This whole training setup that they have paid for completely out of the Panthers' pockets. No city funding whatsoever.
That's pretty damn cool, man. I guess that's the benefit of having the third richest owner in all the NFL.
My point isn't to sit there and say I know it's not a stadium, but it's just a funny thing that that people are looking at the stadium upgrades and the potential for Charlotte to be providing assistance to do that, and then now they're to be again. There's just they act like there is no. There's nothing that the Teppers are footing a bill for when clearly they're doing things, that are more than in excess of what a lot of teams are doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I like the fact that he is putting forth every possible resource into this team.
Yeah,
and to actually building around the Panthers and giving them shit like they will need for their recovery. Again, all the injuries that we've sustained here over the years, that we've clearly had some issues with our strength and conditioning staff, and I believe how we prepare players and how we help recover players. And I feel like this is their attempt to sort of remedy some of those things.
Yeah.
So this is moving on. We have tight ends and offensive linemen. They have Tommy Tremble, Ian Thomas, Ja'Tavion Sanders, and Stephen Sullivan. So they have us carrying 4 tight ends. Sanders, another rookie out of Texas, may be the future big-time receiver at the position. But for now, Tremble and Thomas are showing the potential to flourish in Canales' tight end-friendly scheme and not ready to give snaps to the newcomer. The position that has been a weak link for Carolina the past 4 seasons has earned high praise during OTAs. I mean, again, I have no problem with this list. We have the big 3 up there. There are 3 guys that we know are going to get meaningful playing time at some point this year. That's Tommy Tremble, Ian Thomas, and hopefully Ja'Tavion Sanders.
Ian Thomas has never impressed me. Not once, not one game, not one play. The guy's played since 2018. He has 1,055 yards since 2018 on 116.
Been here 8 years and ain't
four touchdowns in 8 years. He has never impressed me. I don't understand why he's second on the depth chart. It makes I don't know if he's second. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
He seems like he's slower than Greg Olsen was.
Mm-hmm. And Greg Olsen had a dad run. And that's playing something,
Yeah.
But yeah, Thomas. And as far as Tommy Tremble goes, I don't think I've seen enough of him to kind of say he's not any good, but I haven't been super impressed by him either. Now, granted, I'm coming off of Greg Olsen, being the last tight end that I really love for Carolina. So it's hard to compare. The bar is pretty high. But as far as
I don't know,
Tommy Tremble, I'm not impressed with either one of them.
That hurdle that one time Tommy Tremble, man, that was kind of good.
I was impressed.
He did it a couple of times last year.
I was impressed with Tommy last year, but before I'm going to put him down as a starter, I need to see more of what I saw last year this year.
Yeah, and we got to keep in mind we have a specifically a pass catching tight end that we drafted that is considered one of the surest hands, and when it comes to the ball hitting him in a catchable radius. Still some things that are left lacking when it comes to speed and route running, but we'll see what this guy can do. But I'm not comfortable putting one person over the other right now. We got to see how this training camp shakes out. But it'd be a absolute failure if they don't put a tremendous amount of effort in seeing what Sanders can do.
Yeah, I think so too.
If none of them are overly impressive, I wouldn't be surprised to see a waiver pickup of some sort.
Did anyone have any more thoughts on the tight ends before we moved on to O-line?
I wouldn't be
I don't
shocked
know
if
that I
it was
would've-
Sanders day one. I'm sorry. I haven't seen enough from any of the others. If it's JT day one, I'm cool with it.
Well, I have one question. If do you want a tight end that blocks better or receives better for Carolina? Which
Well,
one's
for the
more?
purpose of us running the
Receiving.
football, I mean, we all want the receiver, but I feel like for what we're trying to do in this offense, like again, it reminds me of Ed. Ian Thomas reminds me of Ed Dick. Like, he was always a good blocker, but he was never anything more. And
That's why he's here.
yeah, there's been like a portion of the fan base that's been like, we just need to throw Ian Thomas the ball more. But I'm like, do we? I really don't think that we do. We really just need him to block his ass off. That's why I think he's there. I mean, when you're blocking, you're not really impressive. You're basically an offensive lineman. And, everybody knows offensive linemen, they don't get their credit. Nobody looks at them until they're getting destroyed, and then everybody's talking about them. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But I think that as a pass catcher, Tommy Tremble and Jatavion Sanders are going to be the guys that are going to really try and fight to be that receiving target at tight end. Any other thoughts about tight end?
Let's move on to
Sullivan. I feel like Sullivan would be a practice squad guy and then maybe called up at some point in the season, just like last year. I don't know that I necessarily would have put him on a 53, but it's all good. Let's move on.
Yeah. Offensive linemen. Kim Kwanu, Damian Lewis, Austin Corbett, Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton, Brady Christian, Josh Njimin, Ricky Lee, and Cade Mays. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that? So that would also mean Chandler Zavala getting the axe. What do we think about this list, man? I think it all looks about.
I'm all right with this.
As expected, yep.
Yeah. I mean, the Jimin, Christensen, Ricky Lee. Yeah, don't have to spend too much time there. Defensive linemen, Derek Brown, Shia Tuttle, Ishawn Robinson, Nick Thurman, LeBron Ray, and Jaden Cromuddy.
Nick Thurman. What does Nick Thurman give the defense? Nothing.
I couldn't even.
I mean, I have absolutely no understanding why all these reporters love Nick Thurman. He's every projected roster I see, he's right up in there. He is so great. He's so great that we had to pay Ashawn Robinson to replace his ass.
Yeah, y'all remember Iku Leota from last year? He was the name that everybody loved and thought was awesome during training camp, and he really didn't do shit. So, yeah, I mean, again, we just need somebody to impress us. Yeah. I want Jaden Cromuddy to do big things and to really make an impact on this roster. Moving through linebackers, Javion Clowney, DJ Wanham, DJ Johnson, Kelvin Chason, Amari Barno, Shaq Thompson, Josie Jewell, Michael Barrett, and Trevin Wallace. I mean, I don't know. Is that a little bit inflated, or considering that you have to have the inside linebackers and the outside linebackers, is 9 a reasonable number for linebackers, or is that a little much?
Considering half of them are pass rushers on the edge, I would say then that's reasonable.
Yes, agreed with CK.
Yeah, I hear that. Wait, hang on. Did we? No, we didn't. Oh, yeah, we did. We did linebackers. Okay, so cornerbacks, we got J.C. Horn. God, this is what CK pointed out earlier. This is abysmal, dude. J.C. Horn, Dan Jackson, Troy Hill, Charles Smith-Wade, DiCaprio, Brutal, and Deshaun Jameson. God, man, the more you look over this, the more you're like, bro, we have a bunch of nobodies other than J.C. Horn back in that backfield. Like, those names inspire no confidence in me. I'm sorry, y'all.
No, yeah, I agree, but we also had names that we thought last year were big names that ended up the last couple of years being crap too.
My goodness.
Right. reading, the team's really impressed with DiCaprio Boodle. Ivero, the defensive staff love that, love him and Deshaun Jamison, and they project them to be the number one guys off the bench. That's
But
just
for
how
what?
they feel.
Like, what do they
And,
like him
I mean,
for? What does?
well,
like,
we're just not in practice. There's things we'll never
yeah.
know because we're not in practice, and that's just what it boils down
I
to.
mean, I guess we can say the same thing of Thurman,
right,
right? Whatever.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I mean, and besides all that, last year in training camp, or not training camp, in OTAs, who are they defending against? I mean, it ain't like they're lining up DiCaprio Boodle against the number one wide receiver in
Yeah.
OTAs and with physical contact. I mean,
a
lot of that's
yeah.
going to air itself out in training camp and preseason, in my opinion.
And again, I maintain that at some point we're going to make another corner signing. I don't know who it'll be or what form that will take. But any other thoughts on the cornerbacks here?
I just want to say one thing real quick, and I maybe I don't know if this is out of line or out of pocket saying this, but I think that cornerback is probably, besides maybe quarterback, the toughest mental position in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a completely reactionary position. There's multiple different people. There are multiple people playing the same position on the field, so it's very difficult to fill a team with multiple really good cornerbacks. I mean, you have to be. I can't imagine that every play you're reacting to what somebody's doing and having to keep up with somebody. Some of these wide receivers that are out there, it's just insane. So I just feel like we've had a lot of big names in the cornerback position over the last few years that have turned out to be nothing. And I will say, as much as I like J.C. Horn when he's on the field, if he gets injured again this year, I'm done with him.
I mean, I think the team would be as well.
Yeah, I'm ready to be done with him. I can't keep a guy who plays 2 or 3 games a year. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to be. That would be very unfortunate. We're all hoping that he can stay healthy. But, man, this is like we're going to have to hope that pass rush is able to get home, man. I have some real fears about this defense, gentlemen. I'm not going to hold you. It could get nasty. But, like I said, if we're able to show a step forward in offense, bro, I'll take it as a down there. On safeties, we have Xavier Wood, Jordan Fuller, Sam Franklin, and Jamie Robinson. Oh, Jamie. I said Woods and Fuller will start, and Scott brings experience and zero system. The battle between Robinson and Alex Cook for depth will be watched. Blah, blah, blah. What do we think about safeties?
I mean, that's probably the best that we would be getting. I mean, honestly, I don't like. I think Sam Franklin is better than people want to give him credit for. Xavier Woods, outside of his injuries and the penalties, I mean, I still think he's a solid safety personally. It would be great to have like a top 10 safety in the league, but those cost a lot more money, and so I think for what we have, I think this isn't the worst position group we have, to be honest.
I've read that Jordan Fuller for Ivero has played some nickel corner. Like this, he's played a lot of nickel corner for Ivero, so they may kick him into nickel corner. But I don't see them keeping 5 safeties. But I guess if they're going to play one of them at corner a lot, maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with my boy White Chocolate, who says anyone else is better than C.J. Henderson. You better hope.
I
mean, you better hope, bro. Bro, listen, when I hear Dane Jackson, Troy Hill, and DiCaprio Boodle, that might as well be Larry Curly emoji.
C.J. Henderson was worse than they are.
I don't know these guys.
And I'll even say this, in my opinion, is strictly my opinion, that Dane Jackson is an upgrade over Dante Jackson.
All right. I'm with you, Pickle. I hope Charles Smith Wade impresses to the point that he's
have upgraded Jackson's, Pickle.
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you what, Deshaun Jamison made one play last year that was a lot better than all the plays last year done by Deshaun Jackson.
Really?
Yeah, that one play where he knocked the P turkey out of that quarterback.
Hey,
Cousins.
Kev's backing up his point right here too, and he raises a great point. You only know C.J. Henderson's name because he was a first-round pick. If he wasn't
Right.
a first-round pick, you would never know who that guy was.
You're
He'd be
right.
on this
Well, you
list,
also
have
know
no
his-
idea who he was.
You know his names from all the deep balls he just didn't defend.
Yeah, you're right. You know him that way.
He's
too.
a corner's
We would know,
name you
yeah.
hear a lot watching the game, and that's a bad thing. You don't want to hear your corner's name in the game.
Cody, does this not go to special teams?
I thought I added it, but I didn't. I have it right here though.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So, specialists. Yeah, this is the controversial one to me, man. They have Johnny Hecker, Eddie Pinheiro, and JJ Jansen. Dave says, as experienced and as productive as any group on the roster, the only question during the offseason was whether Pinheiro, who ranks third all time in success rate for kickers, dude, such bullshit, would hold out during mandatory training camp as he seeks a new deal after skipping voluntary work sub. He has showed up recently.
A new deal.
I'm sorry, man. I am just like, who wants to pay Eddie Pinheiro right now? Who and for what? Why?
Let me know. Let me know and we'll trade him.
Like, is it like, are they really that afraid of giving? I mean, again, this is just Dave Newton's projections here, but like, are they really that afraid of giving the young kicker a go? Or are they just afraid of getting egg on their face if that kicker isn't ready and Pinheiro goes somewhere else? Like, I don't know, man. I would want to go with the younger, more impressive talent rather than paying somebody who, I'm sorry, is so overrated, dude. Third all-time success rate for kickers. Like, bro, get that shit out of here. Like, what does that even mean?
Well,
like, does anyone think Pinheiro is the top 3 all-time kicker?
Well, I'll tell you what that stat's not showing you. It's not showing you how many kicks he has because it's really easy to make 89% when you've had so many less kicks than all these other kickers that have had more. And two, when you look at the percentages, like from top to bottom, it's like 10% of list of like all-time kickers. It's like a 10% difference from the very top to the very bottom. So it's not like it's not like it's, you know, super impressive. Let him get out there and have 3 or 4 more seasons kicking. And if he's still in that top range, then okay, maybe we'll give him that. But I'm willing to bet if he has to do some long kicks, he probably won't be.
Yeah.
That's his kryptonite is long kicks.
Right. He's on his last year. He's on basically a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's already crying about his money. If he does make the roster, I don't see him being here next year if he thinks he's underpaid. Even if he makes the 53-man roster, if he thinks he's underpaid now, I don't see him staying for anything less
Also,
or even currently what he makes.
I think it's worth noting that this is a new regime. They have no loyalties to the players on this team. And holding out for mandatory minicamp is not a good look with your new coach and this regime, right? The only saving grace you have is Dan Morgan, and Dan Morgan may have a soft spot for Eddie Pinheiro. But outside of that, I don't think that, especially with the reports of what the thicker kicker's been doing in the OTAs and minicamp, and if that continues during training camp, I just don't think I think the Panthers would be more afraid of a Harrison Butker situation than they would be of letting go of Pinheiro and him turning into a Graham Gano.
I hope
Like
so,
Graham,
man.
you know.
I really hope so, because it means that they're willing to take a chance on the younger guy, you know, instead of just being safe. Like we did that with Graham Gano and Harrison Butker. So,
I mean, especially if you're saving money. I mean, here's the thing: if you don't believe this team is a competitive team this year, like if people want to read into the terminology that Dan Morgan was using in his press conference, why would they not just go ahead and cut him and save the money? Maybe bring in somebody, get a little bit of a longer deal, and then that way you can plan, you can kind of build for the next couple of years instead of wondering what you're going to be, because you're going to be in the same boat next year, figuring out how much you're going to pay a kicker, who you're going to pay if Harrison turns out not to be good, or even if Eddie Pinheiro comes around and he's good. Then we're going to have to pay him more money, and all of a sudden we're at a position where we're a bad team having to pay premium money for a fucking kicker.
yeah, yeah, we're just overpaying, and like we have a bottom tier roster, and we're already down near the bottom in terms of cap space. Like, we have signed these bloviated contracts that have just done nothing but hurt us, man. And to me, that's an extension of it. Eddie Pinheiro was signing another contract for a player who isn't worth the money that we pay him. I'm sorry. But, gentlemen, that's all I have in the slideshow.
Hey.
That's a show. That is another edition of the C3 Panthers podcast. Boys, we are pumped about training camp. But before we move on to that, you know that we're going to do the longest running segment on the longest running Panthers podcast. Time to toughen up, get it together. Time to ice some fools up. Our homage to Steve Smith. Let's do it.
Ice up, son. Ice up.
All right, this is our segment where we tell somebody to toughen up, get it together, ice up. Gentlemen, what you got? I only have 2 videos, and they're super stupid and super funny and super short. So if anybody would like to jump on here and go first, have at it.
I'm cool with it. I'll go first. I'm going to say ice up Dove Climate, or whatever the guy is, that great big NFL account that blocked Panther Pickle today. Ice up for blocking a fan of the Carolina Panthers, standing up for Bryce Young. Ice up to you for picking on somebody who can't help the way that God made them. All of us are like that, each and every one of us. We have things about us that we would love to change, but we can't. It's the way we are. And to pick on somebody for how they are or who they are, it's just wrong. And Panther Pickle just went through the trouble of pointing that out on Twitter to that man, and he didn't have any kind of respect whatsoever to say, you know what? I'm man enough to admit I made a mistake, and man enough to admit that I was wrong. Instead, he just blocked Panther Pickle and doesn't listen to anything he has to say. Well, shame on him, because Panther Pickle is a great friend to have, and I enjoy talking to him all the time. So ice up, Dove.
Ice up.
Ice up. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, ice up. Pickle, tell him to shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Greg.
Hey, I'll go real quick. These are free for everybody. So just because somebody gets iced up doesn't mean we hate you or anything. But when you say, I like to challenge people's logic on things, and I am Westside Fetty on Twitter put a tweet out saying fan base whined about Bryce Young playing early in the year last season. And then he says, just watch Andy Dalton run offense, false start 8 times. Okay, first of all, Andy Dalton and the offense false starting 8 times has nothing to do with Bryce Young starting early last season. So the two thoughts don't correlate. Secondly, it's not Andy Dalton's fault about false starts unless Andy Dalton is the one doing the actual false start. I mean, you could say maybe 1 or 2 because of cadence, but not 8. And third, they're playing in Seattle, which is the loudest stadium in the league.
NFL,
Well, maybe Kansas City now, but how many? That's like their thing, is causing teams to false start. We had a shitty offensive line, and that's the game that Andy Dalton outperformed Bryce Young. He made Bryce Young look silly with the same players that he has, and everybody's gonna say, "Oh, we threw 60 times." Well, okay, let's compare Bryce Young's first 60 throws among 3 games to Andy Dalton in 1 game. And it's harder to throw 60 throws in 1 game than it is across 3. And I guarantee it's not going to add up to what Andy Dalton did that game. So I am Westside Fetty. That comment was crazy, man. Ice up. I mean, it's just crazy. It makes no sense at all. So, and then my second one, man, I'm going to go into some a television show here. I'm icing up anybody who is, I'm not going to say defending the acolyte. I'm going to ice up anybody who is calling people racist and sexist if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to not like a poorly written, poorly acted, nonsensical show without being a racist or a sexist. Okay. There were some things in there that I didn't necessarily like, but the show is garbage. It's not Star Wars. The antagonist and protagonist switch places like 6 times in the first 6 episodes. There's no closure at the end. They bring up new stuff that would have been around in the future in Star Wars that is not there. It makes absolutely no sense. I can't stand this show. I hope it doesn't get a second season. It's got the lowest ratings, I think, of any Star Wars property ever. And for some reason, I guarantee you it's going to get a second season just because of the narrative it's pushing. Yeah. So this show is garbage, but you can not like something and not be a racist and a sexist because you don't like it. So for people who were saying ice up, man. It's
Thank
crazy.
you, man. There's so much bad writing in shows today, and then they just scapegoat you when you're like, "Hey, this sucks, dude."
Especially when they say in the show's coming out, this show's going to be the most this and this and this and this.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
like
and then they say, don't complain about it.
Yeah, like
But it's
nobody
gonna be
was
this and this and
asking
this.
for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So
CK, you have an ice up for me tonight? It could be anything, bro.
It's kind of on the same lines. It's the idea, and again, I'm getting slightly into politics. The idea that not wanting to vote for a candidate either makes you that people don't have the ability. Basically, the internet's going crazy. Obviously, now that Kamala Harris is essentially going to be the Democratic nominee. And if you don't vote for her, now all of a sudden there is this thought process that you're a racist or that you're a sexist or anything along those lines. And so anybody who has the mindset that if people don't agree with you, that you're going to label them the worst possible things you possibly can, I'm just telling all you people to ice up. It's I'm not even voting for Donald Trump. I'm going to be voting for RFK Jr. Like, come on now, don't sit here and pretend like we all have this high, pedestal that we're all on, that you're somehow better than me because your opinion is a certain way. We all can have different opinions. We can all have a conversation, and honestly, we can all sit down in a restaurant, probably have a beautiful conversation that has nothing to do with politics, and be perfectly unaware of people's political ideologies, and still love someone. Like, so just stop letting the internet change, to sheep you into an opinion or into this mindset that people who are different than you are evil. Just be a free thinker.
Great message, man. We need that. Politics have never been worse than they are right now, dude. It's like everybody sucks. Everything's polarized. I get a lot of grief too because I'm not voting, and everybody's like, "Hey, that's your right. People fought and died for it." I'm like, dude, none of the issues that I care about are on the ballot. So it's like, where are my options? I'm gonna let everybody else do their civic duty if they feel opt to do so.
Real quick, I want to add on to your point there, CK, because that is a great point. And it's like, if you're gonna call somebody who, like, we have a possible person of color who's going to be running, and if people say that you're a racist and a sexist because you don't vote for her, I could turn that around. If the only reason you're going to vote for her is because she's a woman and a person of color, then you might be racist. And
yeah, you're not voting for politics.
You're not voting for politics. Yeah.
Now, let's also keep in mind, personally, the way that I approach this is, if you're going to you also can't attack Kamala for being a woman of color, being a certain sex, and anything with regard to her personal life. You could make arguments about how she got into the position that she was and all of that stuff, but it's similar to the people who make publicly state the idea that Sheena Quick was only with Brian Burns, and that's the reason she's so gung-ho over it. It's the same. You got to have some understanding that there's a level of respect we got to have for these people, and to assume the worst is, especially in a public manner, is you can't do that. So I do want to play the both sides of that coin. Like, you respect people's opinions, but don't objectify them either.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great one, man. We need more of that in today's world, dude, with everything so polarized. That was a great message. Appreciate the boys. Cole, you have an ice up pick you would like to deliver tonight?
I do, very, very quickly.
Yeah, man.
And it's really probably all of us. It's me included. It's you too, Cody Lack.
Yes, sir.
Everybody that has picked on my damn quarterback today when he was walking the crosswalk with that big ass foot tag on that made him look like a dwarf. Ice up, son. I don't appreciate it.
Yeah. Damn. Hey, man, he's defending his quarterback, man. Shout out to Cole. He's loud. He's loud, man. Pinkle, do you have an ice up?
I do. I want to ice up Elon Musk. Elon Musk, you're in charge. You're the owner, whatever. I used to be able to take my free StreamYard account and stream to Twitter for different things, and I enjoyed it. We were planning to do a few things at C3 Legion, but now, since we don't have a premium Twitter account, we can't do that because Elon changed that. So you have to have a premium Twitter account to stream from StreamYard to Twitter. And there's some YouTubers out there who were planning to do that. Now they can't do that. So, Elon, ice up, dude. Stop making all about your money.
Ice up. Dude, Twitter. A lot of weird things happen with Twitter, but
And just so happens Elon donated a bunch of money to his politics.
yeah, I saw he was doing that too.
I
Hey, but you know what?
I'm sure that ain't got nothing to do with one or the other, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My ice ups are
Think what
very
you want.
simple. My ice ups are very simple, very quick. Shout out to Salesman on Twitter. He's a fan of the pod. Yeah, look. I mean, this is perfect way
that
to
Tony?
ruin your balls forever.
Oh, what a dummy.
Oh wow.
And the boat fell off.
Oh, and the
right
boat. Which
on
one's
him,
worse?
too.
What part of that's worse?
Damn.
Oh, watch. He's holding on to it, trying to. Oh, right
up.
on his balls, dude.
God.
That's an ice up for sure.
That woman in that blue bathing suit's like, you think that hurt?
Yeah.
So my final one. Sad Tony can't be here because I knew that he would love this. He might still be driving and watching. I don't know. But hey, Shotty had one too many.
Oh no.
Oh, I saw this.
Oh no. She's going over the side.
Nope.
No. Even worse, face planting. Over the back. Even worse.
Nope, nobody's even jumping in after her.
No. And so she went in slow motion.
I would say I've been there. That's slow-mo drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, she's moving so slow. Watch when she falls. Bolt right there. Look, right there. She's already right there. If she wasn't so drunk, she could have saved herself and rolled back over. But at this point, she has already resigned herself to going in the water.
Wow.
Oh, that's hilarious. Ice up.
Ice up,
to-
old lady.
Yeah, ice up to somebody's wife who was out here.
And mom. Somebody's mom.
Jesus.
Yeah, for sure, somebody's mom. But hey, man, this has been another edition of the C3 Panthers Podcast. We are going to be at Resident Culture Charlotte this Saturday. We're shooting at around 12:31. We have it set for 1. But yeah, come out, man. Resident Culture Charlotte in South End. They've got it's a brewery, so they have craft beers, they have barbecue. The food is really good, really great time, really good people. We're gonna do a live podcast there right after we get back together Sunday. Man, I am pumped, boys. Greg, CK, as always, you know I appreciate you. My free-for-all brethren who came running when I called them and said, hey, I need my boys on the Tuesday show. And
Yes,
they
sir.
came running, man. Shout out Panther Pickle. Shout out my dog Cole. Shout out the brand ambassador, Diesel Skills. You know we love you guys. We'll be seeing you boys soon. This has been another edition of the C3 Panthers Podcast. My name is Cody Lashney, signing out. Panther Nation, keep pounding.
Keep pounding.